I've been hanging around each other for over 20 years. And we talk about black and brown unity. That's what the conversation has been. Where we stand up, how do we stand up on each other's shoulders? And how do we build that kind of connection and build a connection around movement and around transformation, you know? The work that certainly that all of us do, that those people who have done that work, we only it's the symbols of that to push that forward. And yeah, I just had this incredible opportunity. Who would have thought, as my people would say, because I live 4 blocks from where the people that I grew up with me, they know me from some time I was 11, 12 years old. I still live in the neighborhood. Who would have thought that I would have had this platform to talk about the things that are important? Who would have thought that we could use this platform to talk about the end of apartheid, African liberation? Who would have thought that we'd have had the platform to talk about mass incarceration? It was Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte brought Nane and us together to talk about the issue of mass incarceration and the work that needs to be done and the work that is celebrating the work that Nane has done and others have done. Those are the things that keep us engaged. And yes, we know that we got each other's back. Those are the things that also keep us going, that we got each other's back. So to be able to use this platform, Mary, to talk about that and to be able to do that is one of the base, whenever I use the word blessing, I don't often use that word, but opportunities that I've had.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you. All right, well, we're gonna go to you, Monifa. You've been actively involved in organizing and movement building all of your adult life. Who influences you in your work, and how has that influence grounded you over the years?
Yes, I'm deeply influenced by my parents. There's a theme so far. You know, I really felt deeply what Brother Danny was saying about his grandmother and great grandmother, because we really are so impacted by the work that they did even before we were born. So my parents were activists. My father was a member of the Black Panther Party. And so as an organizer, when there was, in the wake of the killing of Amadou Diallo in the Bronx that was shot 41 times, when we got together and talked about doing Cop Watch, we were like, oh yeah, that's what our parents did. You know, the Panthers did Cop Watch. We're gonna start Cop Watch patrols in Brooklyn and in Harlem. And so the blueprint was laid out for us even before we would knew we needed to use it. And so we were able to leverage doing a program like Cop Watch to launch lawsuits against stop and frisk and the programs that killed Amadou Diallo. So it was really like standing in those footsteps. That was so powerful that, you know, one Black woman made a stand in a moment, and now we have Danny Glover. You know, like that's just, it sounds like what? But that's truly what happens. That's what happens. And it's all of our stories. We're here because somebody made a decision, a parent, an ancestor, and it altered our future. And that's why we do this. And what keeps me going, though, are all of the many mentors and activists around us. I can't say enough how impactful people who are incarcerated have been in my life. As a young adult, began writing Political Prisoners. And, you know, when they share their story with you, you're kind of like, well, there's no reason why I can't be out here doing something, because they've had to overcome obstacles that we can't even imagine. So that's really kept me going, especially over the last couple of decades, is being in this moment to free our family and also our freedom fighters from incarceration.
Thank you, Monifa. So I'm going to turn to your other half, Lumumba. You play a pivotal role in the work of Movement for Black Lives, but it's not your first major role in organizing and being a key organizer for political and social change. So how did you first become involved, and what inspired you to co-found the Black August Hip Hop Project?
So I'm gonna keep that theme going. So my parents also so laid the foundation. I'm a child of the Black Power movement. My parents helped create the first contemporary Black independent school in Brooklyn called Uhuru Sasa Shule, Swahili for Freedom Now School. They come out of an organization called the East. And so as a child, experiences were not, getting feedback, I don't know what that is. Were not that of normal children, but it was something that pretty much helped lay for me what my role in life was going to be. And so seeing the kind of dedication and commitment my parents and other people laid out for Black institution building was something that was clear for me. But how they did it and the tools that they used was also clear. The East was known for its amazing cultural marriage to political and social work. And so you could go to the East and hear Herbie Hancock, to hear Pharoah Sanders, to hear Gil Scott-Heron, to hear all of these people, but also be in spaces where people are organizing and building. And so it wasn't a big leap for us to talk about utilizing hip hop as a tool for advancing the call for the freedom of political prisoners in the United States. It wasn't a big leap at all. In fact, it was something that was normal. It's like what we do, you know, for us to partner with a hip hop magazine at the time, and to have access to and grow up with a number of rap artists in the community who were down to do it. It only made sense to do what was at our disposal. And I'm honestly not shocked, but I'm actually pleased with some of the success of it. You know, one of the things that we were able to do was to take a rap artist from Chicago by the name of Common to Cuba, and to participate in the Cuban Hip Hop Festival. And prior to this, much of our work around political prisoners included work around the Hands Off Asada campaign, and we were doing a number of trifolds and limited in our ability to really talk about her case. But having him go there in '98, I believe, and be influenced by her and create a song called Song for Asada that now there's no way for us to quantify how many people know of this freedom fighter. There's no way for us to count that. We don't know. But that is a result of Black August. That is a result of, honestly, the East. That's a result of Yuru Sasa Shule. That's a result of the brilliance also that comes out of Paul Robeson through Harry Belafonte, through Danny Glover to Common. That lineage continues.
Awesome, awesome, thank you. Okay, Rhodessa, I'm gonna pose a question to you, and then I don't want the audience to think I'm being rude, but the lights went out in this room, so I'm gonna go turn my video off for a second and turn it back on while you're answering. Okay, so Rhodessa, so often the plight of incarcerated women is not centered in the discussions about abolition, decarceration, or prison reform. What caused you to focus your talents, your time, and your energy on incarcerated women, and particularly those living with HIV and AIDS?
Oh, first, I just want to say it's so great to be here in the company of all of you doers and stirrers and speakers and spiritualists. I was sent to do this work. I was a dancer. I am a mom. I was a mother before I was a woman. I got a call from the California Arts Council to come in and teach aerobics to incarcerated women. I thought, what does aerobics have to do with changing the lives of women? And but I went in and I was amazed at how many women looked like me. Black and brown women were in jail. I mean, I had a brother who's in Attica. I have 8 brothers. So I knew something about Black men going to jail, but I had no idea that so many Black women were sitting in jail, mad as hell about whatever. And I wanted them to tell me what happened. I said, what happened? Why are you in jail? We're talking 20, 30 years ago. And I don't know, you know how it is. Oh, sister. And I said, no, I don't know how it is. And a lot of people have already done this work for you. A lot of people have sat because they could not move for you. You have a right to a life. And when I started talking like that, they started listening. What do you mean I got a right to a life? I said, think about it. There are babies waiting on you, honey. And what is it that you think or you feel? And I felt like the women had never been asked this before. And I started to talk about my own life. I'm a migrant child. My mother and father were migrant workers. We moved to upstate New York so that we could get a better shot. My mother was very interested in us getting a better education. And But in the course of that, I learned to be an outsider. I learned to sort of look at everything from the outside and do my own thing, so to speak. So going into the jails, I thought, I want to teach storytelling to these women. I want these sisters to be empowered by their own history. I want them to be able to say, this happened to me. I don't want this to happen again. I'm angry about this. It was about giving women a voice. So here we are now, and there are women that have left my program. They're raring to go out in the streets. They're worried about their own children in the streets, but they're engaged. And so I simply say again, I was sent to do the work, and it's been extraordinary to make a theater company that's rooted in and incarcerated women speaking their own truths and telling their own stories on stages all over the world. I work all over the world. And so that's why I'm here. And now I can't quit. I get tired. I mean, because sisters are a lot. We are a lot, okay? But at the same time, I'll try to quit, and somebody in my company will say, girl, you can't quit. And so here I am. Here I am. And thank you again for having me. Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us, Rhodessa. No, you can't quit. Like Harriet Tubman couldn't quit. If she quit, what would have happened? History would have been very different.
Mm-hmm.
So Nane, so let me ask you, brother, your work for many years has focused on Black and brown youth, gangs, and prisons in California. What inspired you to make that intersection of those arenas your life work? Talk to us about the roots of peace through a transcommunal approach.
Well, first, I guess, I'll say I'm blessed. I'm blessed for being here and having the opportunity to be here. But I also I pay respect to my grandfather, who was a migrant worker, and we migrated from Mississippi, all the states to the West. I was born in a cotton field in Marigold, Mississippi, in 1949. My cousin Jesse had been born there the year before. I was delivered out in a shack, So I've had that relationship since the get-go. My family was from Texas. So I grew up in labor camps with Black, brown, and poor whites. So I didn't know about racism until I started school. And they started to call me Daniel, and I wouldn't listen because my grandmother gave me the name Nane. In our language, Nane means walk in peace. So my grandmother would give us all nicknames that related to her. I guess she was laying down the path, and we didn't understand that. So Nane, as a child, I grew up in many, many labor camps. In Texas, Black and brown were always on the other side of the tracks. So we would have to go to each other. We would go to each other's neighborhoods and then because we couldn't go to the other school. So finally they allowed us to go to the white school, and we faced a lot of discrimination, calling us wetbacks, calling the N-word, so we bonded together. I've been bonded from the get-go. So there's a lot of history there. My father was incarcerated. My grandfather was incarcerated. My uncle was incarcerated. All these folks have been incarcerated. All family members have been incarcerated in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. I counted 35 members of my family in prison and one in college, and that was me. I was trying to figure out what's going on. I'm also a veteran of the Vietnam War, and a lot of Black and brown veterans never came back. And a lot of us came back with heroin addictions. If you've seen the documentaries, you've seen the movies of New York, especially New York hit so hard with the Black community and heroin and all that stuff. Well, I'm that person that came back addicted. I came from one war to another street war in 1970, 71, and just saw the injustice that was happening still. All those states that we lived under trees, we lived in tents, we lived in our cars, we lived everywhere until we could afford to get a house or move into a house. It was never ours, So going to school, 4 or 5 different schools a year as we traveled around the States. And all this, was in the Black and brown communities. So it's ingrained in there, and the violence was just taking our people. In 1977, we decided to try to start an organization that would address this, because there was nobody addressing it. And it was called Barrios Unidos, United Neighborhoods. That's all we wanted to do, is unite the neighborhoods. And through that, I've seen we've grown. We're 40-something years old. We've grown nationwide, international, and then I throughout that work, I met Danny, and I met Mr. B, and with them I went to all over the world, and we've always been talking about Black and brown. Danny and I've been to the prisons in Venezuela, and we've been out in Kenya and in Tanzania, and I mean all these places that we've been to, and it's the same thing: poor people. So for me to be here today, it inspires me to be able to be a graduate of UC Santa Cruz. When I was a dropout, I dropped out of school in the 9th grade. It took me 12 years to get back to school. But I graduated with honors in my major and my thesis. And I just dedicated my life to this because it was all around me. I don't like to use the word gang, but I'll use it in this instance. There's so many street organizations around me. I couldn't help it. I've had, in this journey, I've had over 17 relatives killed. Violence, drugs, alcohol, you name it. To this day, Danny and I continue to go to prisons because our relatives are in there. My grandson's in there. My oldest grandson is in prison. So I go see him. I won't turn my back on him. So I get inspired by the young people today. I get inspired by Dr. John Brown Childs, who is a founder of Transcommunalities, in terms of how do we learn about each other's cultures and use culture as a way to teach peace, to talk about ourselves. And we've done this within the prison system, and it really catches on. And I'm gonna say brothers, because mostly it's in the men's prison, because Rhodessa is right on what's going on in the prisons with the women. We taught that class in Soledad prison. We wanted Soledad because all the movement and the history that it was in Soledad, just like Attica. And the brothers there now teach transcommunalities to each other. And we've seen it where they stand down when there's violence as peacemakers, and they risk their lives for others. And so I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired by the young people, and I can't give up till my grandson comes home.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. We're going to go to Monifa and Lumumba. So, you all are have been the movement couple, and I mean the movement couple for many years, right? In fact, Ebony magazine dubbed you the coolest Black family in America. That's quite a title. So you are also parents and very involved with your extended families. So how do you navigate the many competing demands on your time? What advice would you give to young movement couples to help them find an optimal work-life balance?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know, it's a lighter question though. No, I think that I think both of us and our siblings and our peers who grew up as children of activists have a collective experience of feeling like perhaps the world out there came before the world in the home, because that's what kids see. You can be out there trying to change the world, trying to fix the ills of the planet, and the kid just wants to know, why we not all eating dinner together, or, whatever those things are that, that kids see and hope for. And so I think just coming up, talking with our siblings, our friends, our comrades whose parents are like political prisoners, and just sharing the stories of kind of like what the movement felt like for a child versus, you know, probably what the adults thought it felt like. And so I think we made a conscious decision back when we got married that we would try to make sure that our home was kind of like insulated from a lot of what would be happening in the fight outside. And it doesn't always work, you know, you can try, but you know, also in this digital age, forget it. Everything just kind of seeps through the walls and seeps through the fiber optics. But just being very intentional about what we saw, you know, and how we felt, and making some adjustments so that the girls feel first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll add that it also helps that we like each other, that we're friends. You know, there are people who, you know, couples that we know who, you know, great business partners, do all this other stuff, but don't necessarily like each other. But, you know, we laugh, and I think we prioritize things like that. And I think we try to make sure that there's joy in this, because there's a lot of heaviness that is around the work that we do. And so we make sure that, you know, there's joy in our home, in our interactions, and you know, and we prioritize our times together. And so I think that helps, you know, and we pray, so.
Yeah. Also, young activists today are really pushing this this theme of self-care in general for Black people, but especially for activists. And we're really late to the scene, because I feel like when we were doing organizing when we were younger, it was very similar to our parents. You just kind of ride it till the wheels fall off, right? Mm-hmm. You just go till you drop. And so now, many of our comrades around us that are in our organization, in our network, you know, they start with like self-care. Meetings start with check-ins. People have to talk about how they doing and how they feeling. And that took some adjustment even for us. Mm-hmm. We're like, how we doing? We gotta, you know, it's time to march downtown. What are we talking about? So I really, really give so much love and respect to the young activists that are out here leading today, because they're basically like, we can't liberate ourselves as a whole community if we're sick, if we're tired, if we're broken, you know, and we have to take care of that. We used to be made to feel guilty by doing that. But the new paradigm is that actually, when you take care of yourself, that is a part of the liberation struggle, right? Because if the forces against us are trying to tear us down, make us sick, make sure that we don't thrive, then every time you do make sure that you thrive, that you take care of your wellness, it's an act of resistance. So I love that framework. So we can't take the full credit, but you know, I just feel like our movement is constantly evolving, and this self-care value, this priority that we hear of in the movement coming from young people, I think it's going to save us and make sure that we can like organize longer for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
For that protracted struggle, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I am, you know, I'm the consummate, I forgot the commercial person. And so we're going to give our panelists a moment to rest. And we have a couple of commercials that I hope everybody will enjoy. So let's see, our tech person is going to play a commercial or two for us.
Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure sound is being shared too. Oh, it will.
And while she's checking the sound, we'll remind people, if you have been moved by what you've heard so far and what you know of AFJ, please do donate.
Big question, why are you here today?
I'm here because I believe that docs need to reinstate marriage licenses and no limit on contact visits.
I'm here today because DOCS needs to establish a good visiting pattern for families that come afar. The time limit, the dates are not acceptable.
I'm here today because it's very important that the visitors and our loved one inside the facility know that we care about them and that we are fighting to get our visit back and to see our loved ones and know that they're safe. That's why I'm here fighting for our loved one inside and fighting for my right outside, okay?
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, I like that commercial too. You won't see that on television. So let's move on. And I'm conscious of the time, but Rhodessa, I want to hit you with this question. So no doubt, satisfaction from the work that you do with the media project, from the Medea project, forgive me. But tell us about the low moments and how do you overcome them? You're on mute.
I'm so filled with gratitude that I get to do this, work. And listening to Monifa and Lumumba, the whole idea of love, love has to be the last word. And and that's one of the things I enjoy working with incarcerated women, just reminding them that they are lovable, that they're wonderful, that I love them. Now, death and dying is very real. A lot of women, they get out of jail and they're cool, but they hit the streets and with no support, they are found in back alleys. They're found in shopping carts. I was working at Glide Memorial Church about 6-7 years ago, and 3 times in that time that I was there, somebody would just bring up a shopping cart with a sister, a body in it that we had known. And that just like, oh my God, it just like knocked me to my knees that this was happening. And with HIV, women are so ashamed. They're so ashamed of having contracted the virus. And I'm constantly saying, it's not a crime. It's a medical condition. And pulling them up out of that. Then I went to Africa. The joy of this is I got invited to South Africa to work in the prisons there. And they were just so far ahead of us as far as, social activism and work inside the prisons. I love my work, and at the same time, right now I'm training women inside, and I'm training women in my group to move on and do the work because I'm 71 years old, and it's just time for me to kind of step down and do what I want to do. But I wanted to say one thing about self-care. I was on a panel with Elisa Garza about 3 years ago, and we were at Hamilton College. And everybody was talking about Huey P. Newton and what had happened to him and blah, 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 and how he had fallen so far and all this kind of stuff. And then the young people said, well, what do you do to take care of yourself, Alicia? What do you do? And she says, I don't believe in self-care so much. I believe in collective care. She said, that's what Huey didn't have. He didn't have people checking in with him and saying, you're kind of losing it. You should take a step back and take care of yourself. And it was such a revelation to me, because as somebody who has started an organization, I'm crazy too. It's like, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. But it's my people who say, Ro, just take it easy, we got this. And so to answer your questions, the low moments are so low when somebody, I didn't catch them. Somebody fell from heaven and I couldn't catch them, or a woman comes up with HIV and she's still turning tricks in the streets and she's mad as hell. And you gotta like bring her to earth and say, look, girl, you got to get a grip here because you don't need to take a whole lot of other people out with you. But the other side of it is that I get to do this work, and I feel like it's so much a part of moving the tribe along, moving our families along, loving each other, loving ourselves. I had a young man deliver something to my door this morning. Beautiful chocolate boy, just like huge boy. And I said, how you doing? He goes, I'm fine. He's rushed. I said, wait a minute. I said, I want you to take it easy out there. Be careful. Take care of yourself. And he looked at me like, yes, ma'am. I said, no, I'm serious. I said, you know, you're too precious. And he's like, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And I'm doing that more and more wherever I go, just talking to our children in the world and in the streets. So that's what sustains me. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, you know, I could talk to you all night, but we're not going to get a chance to. So we're going to do one more commercial, and then I'm going to pose the last and final question. But I want our hosts to play whatever commercial they choose.
Hi, my name is Austin A. Morrison Feaster. I'm 13 years old. I go to Climate Preparatory Institute, and I want to thank Alliance of Families for Justice for calling me on today to talk about their youth leadership program, which focuses on financial literacy and, you know, the basics of investment. So that, you know, later down the line, you know, when you start working jobs, or, you know, when you start getting money at the age of anywhere from now to, you know, 15, 16, you know what to do with that money and you're not really reckless with it. And, you know, Mr. Calvin's financial class was very engaging for me, and he's a great teacher in the form that he taught in a way that made you want to participate and not be afraid of getting the wrong answer, which led to great class discussions. And he also never overwhelmed us with work, which can be a problem for other programs. Like, you know, you're in the summer, you want to have some free time, but you have all this work to do for the class. And he gave us enough work so that the class felt worthwhile, but not too much to where you felt bogged down and that, you know, you couldn't do anything else with your time over the summer. And the subject matter itself, like, you know, financial literacy and investing is so important to young Black youth because, you know, we really don't get taught that type of stuff in school. And if it is, it's usually in college or like senior year of high school when we're 17, 18 years old, and we've already not spent our money wisely. So the fact that AFJ is providing a class like this to people, you know, 10, 11 years old, all the way up to 16, 17 is amazing. And I just want to thank them for providing this class and allowing me to talk about this class and, you know, spread the word out there a bit more. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so my final question to panel, very timely, I think. Okay, we're going to take a time journey, right? We're going to get into a time capsule. We'll be 6 feet apart, of course. All right, and we're going to make our way to November 4th, 2020. Okay, you're awakened by a phone call from Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. She's calling to say that the 5 of you have been selected to be part of the cabinet for the new administration. She and President-elect Biden would like to meet with you on November 16th, right after they attend the Veterans Day parade. Together, the 5 of you agreed to attend and accept the invitation. What advice will you give Ms. Harris and Mr. Biden as they set their priorities for the next 4 years? Please note that this meeting is going to be very brief, so let the audience in on the advice that you're going to give, and you can tell us as you're responding what position in the cabinet you've selected for yourselves. And I think we'll start with Rhodessa. She seems like she's chomping at the bit, so we'll start with you, Rhodessa, and then we're going to go to Nane. Come off of mute. Come off of mute, Rhodessa. We can't hear you.
I'd want another office. I want to be the Minister of Art and Radical Socialism.
Well, there you go.
And I want my own budget of money that I can do whatever I want with whomever I want with. And my only stipulation would be that I would have to create a festival in 4 places in the country with the most radical voices, the most radical thought possible. That's what I would want.
Okay.
Minister of Art and Radical Social.
Not asking for much. Okay. Thank you. All right, Nane, what advice would you give them for their priorities for the next 4 years?
Well, I would give them advice, but I would decline any position with the administration. Basically because my advice would be that to tell the truth and hold on to all those promises and stuff that you did to get elected, and to really involve people that are on the ground to run some of these projects and stuff. But I personally myself would decline any position on their administration.
Okay. Well, Monifa and Lumumba, you have some advice for the new Vice President and President-elect?
Yes, I would come with my hard-hitting speech on invest, divest, to defund the police. I would tell them to sit down and look at the BREATHE Act, which is a comprehensive piece of legislation that the Movement for Black Lives has designed that would pull money out of the carceral state that he had such a hand in creating and redirect that money into systems and organizations like AFJ that provide real safety and support for our families. And I would let them know that we are not going to stop until we defund the police.
And I would make sure that immediately we saw the liberation of Mutulu Shakur, Leonard Peltier, Baranza Bowers, and the rest of the federally held political prisoners, and make sure that they are able to go home immediately.
Okay. But so far, it doesn't look like any of y'all are going to stay in the cabinet very long. Okay, let's go to Danny. What advice would you give them? You're on mute. You're on mute, Danny. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Come off mute.
Well, I would like to be the chief of staff for all these brilliant minds that I just heard speak, you know, from Monifa to Lumumba to Rhodessa to Nane, everything. So other than that, I come out of, I'm trained as an economist, you know. I think about community development. What is the kind of way in which you look at real community development from the micro, you know, right from the beginning, not the way it happens in people's lives. How do we change? How do we build co-ops? How do we build housing? How do we have control of all those particular things that affect our lives? I would be the minister of that. How do we be the minister of everything that affects the people's lives, and have people who come in from the communities and do that? From the bottom line, yeah, how do we deal with education? How do we deal with the almost the end to public education? How do we fight for public education? How do we create the public space? All those things cover everything that everybody else is concerned about. Everything. How do we create the kind of art that is transforming us and that changes us and teaches us all to honor each other and love and have compassion and understanding to people's life? All those things fit into that, in the things of that. In how we do that, in the sense, and how we forcibly do that, how we create real change, not the kind of cosmetic change that we see that's happening in the public space, or excuse me, in governance over the period of time that we've seen. That those are the kind of things that really. So I don't know where to put myself, but certainly the chief of staff of all 5 of my comrades right here, you know what I'm saying, would be a start, you know.
Well, thank you, Danny. It's clear to me that we're going to have to get a lot more people registered to vote to push this agenda, okay? So I hope everybody is working on getting folks registered to vote. I'm going to ask everyone to give a round of applause to my panelists, a virtual round of applause. I think they did a wonderful job. And I'm going to turn to our tech person. I know we have room for one more commercial, maybe two. I'll let the tech person decide that. And then we're going to shift from our panel discussion and we'll start with awards. But let's see what our next commercial is.
My name is Carol, and I'm a volunteer with Alliance of Family for Justice. I think the best thing I ever did was when I went to 8 West 126th Street in Harlem to go to visit the Alliance of Family for Justice. And I've never regretted that. It's going on a little about 3 years now, and I've never regretted the day I went there. And I also met a lot of beautiful people, but I really want to talk about the legal team, how awesome they are. And I mean, they're so wonderful because I remember I went there because my son is incarcerated and I wanted to get some points. And I spoke to them, the legal team, Kwesi and Tawana, beautiful people, beautiful souls. And when I spoke to them, they said, Miss Harriet, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go see your son. And I was like, okay. You know, I really believe them because I just paid a law firm and to go see my son and they didn't come through. And here is a nonprofit organization telling me that they're going to drive 6 hours to go see my son. So I was a little skeptic. Anyway, I got the date, the time, when it was supposed to go. And it so happened the day that it was supposed to go was the biggest snowstorm in New York, one of those big snowstorms. And if it's storm in New York, you know what happens upstate. So I was home and I was a little low and sad because I'm saying, you know, I really wanted them to get in touch with my son to know, you know, what's going on. And, you know, but I understand it was a snowstorm and, you know, they probably couldn't make it. And around 4 o'clock this evening in the afternoon, the same day in the afternoon, I saw their phone ring and I saw it was Tawana and Kwesi calling me. And I said, oh God, they must feel so bad because, you know, they said they was gonna go and they didn't get a chance to go. So I put on my best voice. Hi, how are you? You know, real, you know, but inside I was sad because I really wanted them to see my son, but I understood the snow was terrible. I mean, one of the worst snow day you could ever think of. And I was getting ready to say, you know, it's okay, no problem, you know. I heard Tawana saying Kwesi in the background, no, Miss Harriet, we saw your son, I was like, are you kidding me? I said, how do y'all get there with all that snow? They was like, yeah, it was a problem. It was real slipping and sliding. But we got there, we saw your son, and we made a promise to you, Miss Harriet, that we was going to see your son. And we know how concerned you was. So we made it our choice to go and see your son. And he's in good shape, and I got a good report. And my heart felt so much better, but I prayed for them all the way back home. And so I'm telling you, if you really, really want somebody who's dedicated, please call the Alliance of Family for Justice legal team. And their number, let me see, I don't know that in my head, but I'll give it to you right now, is 917-268-2500. And that's Kwesi and Tawana, the legal team for the Alliance of Family for Justice. If you're in trouble, your family's in trouble, if they can't help you, they will find someone who will help you. They're not just going to leave you high and dry. They're going to find someone who will help you. And I think that's the best thing you can do for yourself and your family by contacting the Alliance of Family for Justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, back to our amazing hosts, Roz and Carol.
So,
hi, yes, so you know, you saw me already. I'm a movie star now. I'm gonna take off my shade soon when I get out there. The paparazzi is gonna go crazy when they see me. Anyway, you know, as a mother with an incarcerated child, you know, we need places like Alliance of Family for Justice, because when I came here, I was a basket case. So I'm asking, I know it's been a hard year. Financially, it's been a rough year for us all, but we need the Alliance of Family for Justice and we need help with your donation. So I'm here asking you, please, if you could just dig a little bit deeper, because we need to get more message out to mothers, uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins, grandmother. to know that there's some place like Alliance of Family for Justice that they can come to. And we need this organization to keep going. So I'm asking you, please, if it's some way, somehow you can dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper. I see them, not the change, the bills, dig a little deeper, okay? Thank you.
Thank you all. And just really to piggyback on what Carol was just saying, and really all the incredible, the pearls of wisdom, the knowledge, the love, the support that you've seen among in the conversation with our panelists and honorees. You know, AFJ has had such a tremendous impact from the youth development program, from organizing the family members, the loved ones of people who are incarcerated, teaching them about, when we say empower, AFJ gives the word empower life by sharing with the family members how they can go up to Albany and agitate and be successful in rolling back some of the repressive laws that were attempted to be enacted to limit family contact with incarcerated people, to limit what could be sent, that nourishment. You know, the packages that people get on the inside are, you know, physically help them, but it's also an emotional bond. And to limit that is really to put people in a state. So, you know, just all the work that AFJ has done, the many, many lives that have been touched by the work of AFJ, you know, the intern, you know, the youth, you know, all the people that AFJ has touched through the volunteers and the family members, it's like a ripple effect, right? You start by impacting and thinking differently with the people in your home and your family, and that projects out into your community with your community board, you know, on the trips to Albany, and just in many different ways. So please, as Carol said, make sure that this organization is going to continue to persevere, because it's important. This is literally life and death work that we're doing for across the generations.
That's right.
And we were taught, you heard several times mention the importance of voting and voter registration, because it's not just on the presidential level, although that's very important, but you also look at, we talked about the Breonna Taylor travesty. Those district attorneys or prosecutors are elected by the people. So we need to participate in the local, city, state level voting. We need to vote on every level because it impacts our lives drastically. As well, this is one last thing, the census, y'all. We need to make sure that we go online and fill out the census. The time was shortened, so we have until the end of the month. That's, I think, 6 more days. Yes. So make sure you go online and fill out the census. And we are the diaspora, Black and brown people, but remember, when you fill out that census form, put Black. Everybody's Black, because that's how we make sure that we get properly counted and we get the funds through to the right areas in our community. So thank you all again. So we are going to shift now to the award presentations. And our first our first award honoree tonight, you've already heard from him on the panel. Nane, of course, that beautiful name that he gave us the definition of. I think he'll remind us, but I believe he said is to walk in peace, that his grandmother gave to him. Nane is the founder, and actually he is the founder of Barrio Unidos. And we're gonna hear more about his journey and the impact of the work that he's done. So without further ado, we're gonna post a clip of Daniel's Nane Alejandrez.
Hello, my name is Nane Alejandrez. I'm from Santa Cruz, California. I run an organization called Barrios Unidos, United Neighborhoods, trying to bring the neighborhoods together. I'm here in Denver with my friend Cisco, and want to send out a shout out to GRASP and all of you young people out there that are involved in trying to change lives and trying to change your lives. I said, don't give up. It's always hard. It's always hard to change, but you know, we could do it, because if we don't change, those penitentiaries are not going to go away. They're going to keep filling them up with our young people, and we cannot give our young people to the Department of Corrections. We got to educate ourselves. We got to stay true to our culture, to our spirit, and got to keep going, man. Whatever's going on in your life that you might think is negative, you know, change it, because nobody can do it but yourself. But it's been proven over and over again that if you stay connected to your culture, you can do it. So again, peace out. It's been a long journey, but it's been a beautiful journey. You guys take care, man. Peace.
Okay, thank you. All right, the first award, yes, is going to be presented to you, Nane, by Danny. Are you still there? We need to... There he goes. Okay, and for all the awards, I have to tell you, we're going to have to do them kind of fast. We have to squeeze them all into the next 15 minutes. So Danny, you're up. You're on mute. You're on mute. We can't hear you.
I hadn't said anything yet. But usually, when you get a chance to present someone an award, you don't know them. But boy, I had the most incredible, almost quarter of a century with this amazing, amazing brother and amazing fighter, a liberation fighter, Nane. And certainly, when I think about him and to think about the journeys that we've been on, as he's mentioned sometimes, and to be able to walk in the same space with each other and to see pain on not only men's lives but women's lives, and people. It's been able to share those moments with him, and I've been honored to do that. And certainly, as a human being, as one of the citizens, as we both are citizens, and as a fighter and share in the struggle, Nane Alejandrez.
Oh,
wonderful. Okay, so your virtual presentation of your award, Nane. Thank you.
thank you.
Nane, you have 90 seconds.
90 seconds. You know, blessings to everybody. You know, we got, like I said, we got to keep the culture alive. We got to stay focused. You know, one thing I would say is land. Where land without no land. We have to get the land. You know, we have to get the land. In Santa Cruz, we've been successful in acquiring, you know, some land. So we can do it, as our leaders have taught us. And one thing, my mentor, Harry Belafonte, told me that there is no retirement in our vocabulary. And so I will follow his footsteps till the end. Hope all my relations.
Okay, thank you, Nane.
Thank you, Alliance, for, you know, thank you very much, Alliance for Families Justice. Thank you very much for this award.
Thank you.
And thank you for all that you do.
Thank you so much. You are an awesome, awesome go-getter, because you with it, New York and Chicago, I mean, you're a badass. That's all I can say. You're a badass, Alexandra. You're a badass.
International work that you've
Yes,
done.
you are a badass.
Yeah. And next up, our next honorees are a dynamic power couple. We'll start first with Monifa Bandele. She is the Senior Vice President and Chief Partnership and Equity Officer at momsrising.org. very dynamic organization, as well as Lumumba, her husband, her partner, Lumumba Bandele. He is the National Strategies and Partnership Director of Movement for Black Lives and co-founder of one of my all-time favorite summer concerts, Black August Hip Hop Project. So without further ado, we're gonna play a clip where they introduce themselves to you.
Peace and greetings. I am Lumumba Bandele. I am the National Strategies and Partnerships Director at the Movement for Black Lives, also an educator, DJ, father, and husband here in Central Brooklyn. I have been a longtime organizer with the Malcolm X grassroots movement for a few decades now, where collectively we have been working on the human rights of African people in the United States, and locally been working on policing issues and fervently working to free political prisoners in the United States. And I am also the husband of...
I'm Monifa and Lumumba Bandele. I'm Senior Vice President at Moms Rising, where we work to fight for the rights of women and mothers, not only in the workplace, but in the family and in the community. And I also sit on the policy table for the Movement for Black Lives, which is an ecosystem of over 150 Black-led organizations from all over the country. And we're honored to be here today to salute AFJ.
All right. So we're going to present your virtual awards. You got them there. I love it. I love it. So I will just say briefly, I have known Lumumba and Monifa, it seems like, well, at least all their lives, because I knew their parents and as activists here in New York. And it's just such a blessing and so inspiring to have you all pick up the baton, not skip a beat. I think you went straight from like diapers to protests, and it's really, really encouraging to see the work that you're doing and the beautiful job that you're doing as a family as well. And I really love and appreciate you all as confidants also. Danny, I don't know if you want to add anything. You're on mute though. You're on mute. There you
go. I don't think. I mean, the extraordinary work that both Monifa and Lumumba have been doing for decades, and the fact that when you see somebody and you realize that they actually have been there from diapers to movement, and continue the movement. It's such a challenging and such a beautiful relationship and a beautiful context in which they live their lives. And certainly raising their next generation, their daughters, their children doing the same work. And that's basically what we do, what we want to be. You know, allude to continuum, as we would say in the moments of the Portuguese liberation movements, the struggle continues. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Well deserved, well deserved. Okay,
Absolutely.
Our last awardee.
Our last, but certainly not our least honoree, it goes to Rhodessa Jones. One second. Oh my God.
Founder of the Medea Project.
I'm sorry guys, my phone just rang at the wrong time. You know how that is. Always a phone call coming at the wrong time. She's a founder and teacher and performing artist, the co-artistic director of San Francisco Performance at the Louis Fast. Performance Company Culture and Odyssey. Jones directed the Media Project Theater for incarcerated women. I saw the project. It was beautiful. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes, and it was a beautiful production. I loved it. So that's our next honoree, Rhodessa Jones. Thank you.
Okay.
Rhodessa Jones is an activist, a performing artist, a clown, a singer, a dancer, a director, a writer. I am a grandma. I'm a mom. And I think that I'm a good sister friend. Yeah.
In the
early days, there were women who wanted to come and sit with us, but they didn't want to have to share anything. You know, just and at the same time, they would put on this mask of boredom or fierceness. And so I developed a game entitled, "If we're going to work together, what is it that I should know about you?" And so it broke this facade for a lot of women, because a lot of women would say, well, you know, I don't take no stuff. And nobody's ever told them that you're beautiful. You're even beautiful when you're angry, you know?
She asked me did I know how to sing, and I sung something, and I was like in it. It's not like it was an interview or nothing with her, but I sung a song, and I was in the show.
Now this is a rap about a girl who tried to base rock and it rocked her world. I said don't knock it until you try it.
It's incredible work. And incarcerated women are the bomb. They are. If I'm gonna be in trouble, I want some of those girls at my back. Because they've met the devil, and he's a very dull dude. And I like bad girls, you know? I'm a bad girl. And I realized that we had all had our own dangerous dance with dangerous men.
They didn't even want her around because they seen that the girl was going down.
I mean, I met a woman in jail who killed her baby in total reaction to the man's decide. She became such a drug addict. And the guy said, you know, all I want is my kid out of here. You know, you're a mess. He forgets that he brought the cocaine in on a Saturday night when everybody's feeling good, and ooh, baby, you're so fine, and the baby's sleep, let us pop a little wine, and we do a few lines, and all of a sudden, homegirl is strung out, you know, and he laughed. And so what she did in retaliation was smother the baby. And it's classic. The Medea Project, the name came out of that story.
I was very selfish. I thought it was just all about Fifi. But you know, I've come to figure out that it's just not all about me. It's a whole big world out here. And women play a great, grand part in it.
So very true. So very true. Love it.
Love it, love it. Let me say,
The Medea Project is a theater project for women where women can deal with who they are. But Danny, you can tell them because he's one of my heroes.
Well, it goes way back. We were in a theater collective with a brother Azel.
Right.
A long time ago in San Francisco. A long time ago, when I was just getting an idea of feeling out theater, and to watch her and to see her emerge to this place where she is, it's extraordinary, you know. And we come through that moment where we're just trying out. We're young and we're trying out different things. I'm a little bit older than her. I'm a senior and everything else. But I tell you, it's just to see the work and the magic. I had an opportunity to see those incarcerated women perform at the Lorraine Hansberry Theater in San Francisco. It was just sublime. It was amazing. You see it on film, but to see it live, to be live in the room with those women, telling their stories, sharing their pain, and also sharing their triumph as well. That's incredible.
And we are presenting you virtually with your award, Rhodessa. So well deserved.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are 3 minutes out, but we really want to end with something super special. So Rhodessa, I don't know if you want to say something before we do our, what I'll call our closing act.
Well, I'll just say that the work, what I found about the Medea Project, Theater for Incarcerated Women and the HIV Circle, it is about women saving their own lives through the creative process. Because I had a mother and a grandmother both who were great storytellers, and it so set my life on a certain kind of course. So it's just about each woman standing up and telling her own story and learning that she has a voice. I'm really about women having voices in the action and the movement and what's happening in their own lives and in the world. Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you. Let's all applaud all of our honorees.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we are going to, I think our tech person can make this happen. Now, you know, we're going to go to an after party after this, but you know, whoever gets to the party exactly on time. So we're going to play this last commercial for you. And then our tech person is going to dip out and open up the Zoom for the after party. And we hope to see. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Sophia. I'm going to play it now.
Okay.
I don't want to start emotional.
You know, to come here and hear my name, coming from prison where you're recognized by a number.
AFJ has been like a family member to us in this crisis.
Loving community that just reaches out to the families.
AFJ, from my view, is one of those organizations that doesn't just do for people, but it does with people. It actually works within a community and builds a community.
Well, I came home, I was serving a life sentence. I did 25 years. And there's nothing more, you know, important than coming from an inhumane situation to feel humane.
My uncle Mickey was incarcerated and imprisoned for 25 years. And as an African-American male, we understand the ideology and the racism behind it. So it was really good to see my grandmother in her old age be supported in a way where she was still able to come visit him, and she had a community.
Really hit us hard when our loved one goes. And then when they come home, we don't know what to do with them. But AFJ really helped me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I think my hosts are getting ready to say something. I personally want to thank everyone for joining us for this first half of our celebration. And we'll see you on the virtual dance floor in just a few minutes. Thank you, Danny, Rhodessa, Nane, Monifa, Lumumba, Carol, and Rosalind. Much love to you. And to all of our supporters and volunteers and family members who do this work every day.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. And
thank you.
So
thank you.
Take this beautiful energy and this action and donate to AFJ.
Listen.
Yes, as well as complete your census and
vote.
register to vote. Get out there and vote.
Thank
All
you.
right?
Thank
we love you.
Thank you.
Thank
Let's look at
you.
me. I'm a mom with an incarcerated son sitting in front of you guys doing MC, went to Albany, talking to assembly members and senators. Hey, you gotta donate, guys. Love you all. Mwah. Bye. Next year, I'm gonna boogie down. Let's go to the party room, guys.
Yes, after party, put your dance shoes on.
Party time.
We're gonna have breakout rooms for dance instruction. It's DJ Keith Watkins, who is amazing. He's done a lot of work with Run DMC. Just legendary DJ. So it's about to be on and popping, as the youth say.
Alexandria, I want the first dance with you. Mr. Danny, the last dance with you. And she's a married Bye, guys.
I think I do my best dancing virtually.
Thank you all so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yes, thank you, Danny. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Donate, donate, donate.
Yeah.
Donate. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna leave you. I'm going to the after party.
So we
Danny?
switching over?
Yeah, we're going to
We
switch
switch
to the, yes, use the
Okay.
second Zoom clip. You have the second Zoom link.
I get a second Zoom link?
Yeah, there should be 2 Zoom links in the email that you got.
Okay,
if you don't
then.
see it,
I'm going to go to that. Okay.
okay,
All
let me
right,
know.
then.
All right.
I'll call you for them. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
enough. Thank
It was beautiful,
Bye-bye.
huh? It was beautiful.
It was
Yeah.
really beautiful. We recorded it all.
Beautiful.
Okay.
We
See you in a minute. Okay.